Hello there.
Hello there.
All right. So I am Carol Crafty Grandma, and today we are going to start a Winslet wallet by Hold It Right There. The link is in the description to purchase the pattern. It is $8.95, which is a little bit more than I like to spend on patterns. I tend to keep it right around $6-ish. But this did include videos. My live is going to be a lot longer. The entire video stream is about 30 minutes with an additional option for another 9-ish, little over 9-minute video to add a wristlet to the wallet. I like her videos. She did a very nice job. This is just me being live, so when I mess up, you're going to see it, which you have seen in prior videos. I don't hold back. I just sew along, and when I do something wrong, you all know about it. So here's why I'm making the wallet. There is a playlist out there for the 10-pocket travel tote. It's not this one. This was a different one that I made. The one that I did make on the live stream, there are at least 2 mess-ups. And then at the end, the handle slipped out, and I still haven't figured out how to fix that. But I have been using this one, and I found that the problem I'm having is, even with all of the pockets, nice with all the pockets, it's got a zippered interior, all of that, but even the zippered interior is really big. So if I put like coins, if I happen to have cash on me, and I'm using coins, they get lost in here. So I decided I wanted a wallet, and I had purple canvas fabric, and I still have plenty of the bolt of the fabric that I used on the exterior of this. And then I had this zipper. Now, it calls in the pattern for a 3 or a 4.5 zipper. This is a 5 zipper, and I'm going to use it because I want it to match with the bag. So I want them to go together. Usually for something that size, you would use like a 3. Because it's a wallet. You don't need this huge zipper on it. But I'm going to, like I said, because I want it to match. And I also have the pull tab, the same pull tab that I used on my zippers on my 10 pocket. I'm going to move this out of the way now. And I'm sure at some point in time, a kitty cat will fall on it because it's made of fabric and she loves it. Let's see. So what else does she tell me I need? So I'm going to use the cotton fabric that I used as the exterior of my 10 pocket bag as my fabric 1. And the fabric 2 is going to be my canvas. So the next thing, it says I'm going to need some stabilizer. And I'm going to use a couple different stabilizers. This one is Decor Bond. I always say that wrong. Nope, I'm right. Decor Bond from Pellon. And it's really thick. So I'm going to use some of this at the point where my magnetic straps connect. And I'm going to use this in my card pocket slots. It calls for regular woven fabric or woven interfacing in the pattern, but I like a really stiff card pocket. So I'm going to use the Decor Bond, and then I've got the regular interfacing, just regular woven interfacing right next to me. An 8-inch or longer number 3 or 4.5 zipper. Again, I'm going to use the 5, so we've got that. A magnetic snap. I have a box of magnetic snaps that I got on Amazon. I'm going to be using the silver because I'm using the silver pull tab on the zipper, and a 2 1/4 inch length of elastic, 3/4 of an inch to 1 inch wide. Forgot to pull that out. Hold on. It's right here. Let's see. Whoops. How wide is this? This is only a 1/2 inch, so that's not going to work. Let's just pull the box over here. Let's see, is that 3/4 of an inch? No, also 1/2 inch. Bunch of pieces that are 1/2 inch wide cut. I don't know why. That is 1/2 inch. Ooh, that looks like it might be right. There we go. 3/4 inch strip of elastic. A washable fabric marker, which I'm using my Fricks on. Fray check. Fray check. And a walking foot, which I have put on my machine. So, we have all of the gadgets. I also have my clips. If you don't have these, get some. They're amazing. And I have a rotary cutter and a ruler, because a bunch of these pieces are just rectangular, so I may cut them to size instead of using the patterns. Okay, don't forget when you print out patterns from a PDF file that you need to make sure that you just print out one page that has the 1 inch square on it first, and then measure your square to ensure that it's 1 inch. It matches 1 inch. Because if for some reason your printer is set to adjust to size or whatever, it can throw off your pattern. So make sure you do that and make sure your pattern is the right size. Then print off all of the pieces. Now, I print my pattern double-sided, or my directions double-sided, but my pattern has to be, remember to print your pattern pieces one-sided, because otherwise you're not going to be able to get your pattern pieces, obviously. There are included in this pattern tags. So as I cut my pieces out, I will attach a letter to them so that I know which pieces are where. I think it was the 10 pocket travel tote that I had some issues with that, and yes, it was. And I actually ended up making a mistake and having to tear out 2 seams, 3 seams, yeah, a top stitch and 2 seams, and fix the pattern up. So this is something I don't always do, but when they include them, I go ahead and I use them, because I print out the pattern pieces anyway, so why not? Next thing, I already printed out all the patterns and cut them and glued them where necessary. I didn't figure you needed to watch me do that, and I think it did take about an hour. I printed off a couple copies of some of the pieces. I think it's A1, A2, C, and E, because we're going to cut interfacing to different sizes, and so I went ahead and printed off the pattern pieces multiple times so that I can have an exact pattern. Alright, so the first thing we need to do is get our pattern pieces laid out. So she did include a layout of the pattern pieces. And, oh, in the pattern, in addition to the videos that you can watch, there are, like I said, there's 5 regular videos, and then the 6th is on how to add the wristlet strap. But there is another download that you get when you make the purchase, and it includes samples from all of her sample makers. And they did some really cool styles. I am going to follow the way they've got it laid out here. as far as which fabrics I use where, and I'm only using the 2. But you can use as many fabrics as you want, and you can put them in any order you want. So even though it says that the exterior, I can't think what it was called, the flap exterior, I knew I had that backwards somehow, the flap exterior, so the piece you see on the outside, that's going to be in this pattern of fabric. If you'd prefer it to be in your other fabric, you can do that. It's your wallet, your choice. You decide what you want it to look like. Also, I am not going to be including the wristlet because I am putting this into a bag. So therefore, I don't need the wrist strap. Okay, so fabric 1, that would be this. Is that out of the way enough? Yes, it is. Put our fray check up here. Put our pattern codes there. And there we go. We are all set. So it calls for a 1/2 yard of quilt weight cotton. And it dawned on me I'm going to need my iron here shortly. So a 1/2 yard is 18 inches. Actually, I'm just going to do it from this side. So I'm going to cut a 1/2 yard off of here. And I have a ruler down here in case you haven't seen me before. I have a ruler down attached to the bottom of my table. Okay. And tear. There we go. And move our bolt out of here. There we go. And now we need to make sure that this fabric is all on grain, which is why we tear our fabric, because that way you have all of your grains sitting there. So to make sure it's on grain, we're going to match it up. And let me make sure, right side of fabric out, yes. How many A1s are we cutting? Aren't we cutting 2? Salvage edge, they've got it pulled all the way out. They sure do. She doesn't have it folded in half. She has it straight across. So we're just going to lay it straight, iron it straight across. All right. And ironing is important because you don't want wrinkles on in your wallet. So if my iron sits up for too long, it cools down. So it's a safety feature. And sadly, it's been sitting for a while, so it cooled down. Just regular filtered water. In my area of the world, the water comes out of the tap a little yucky. So I use filtered water. I don't buy water, I have a filter. And that's what I use in my spray. That way I don't get chemicals. And you say, what difference does it make? Well, reaction with the heat from the iron can cause discoloration depending upon what is in your water. So that's why I always use filtered water. Just to make sure we don't have a problem. And it's funny, I read through the pattern. I really did. I just obviously wasn't paying attention to some of the minute details, apparently. Like the fact that she just has it straight across without any fold. All right. That's enough of that. Okay. Let's see here. Okay. So this is the pattern layout. So the first thing I need is A1. And as I mentioned, I printed it out twice. Once for the standard cut, and this for the second piece of interfacing cut. So I only need one A1. I'm going to need pins. Fabric scissors. If you happen to have pattern weights, you can use those instead of pins. I like the pins so I can move the pattern around. That just makes me happy, but that's me. Okay, so we need our first clip and our first tag. So that was that. That's easy. The next piece on the layout is B. And B goes this way. Okay. Now the A's and the B's need the pattern pieces. The other ones, she's provided with us with the sizes. So if you want a rotary cut. Okay, so pattern piece B. And now B gets turned this way. Okay. We take our pattern piece, set it off to the side. We bring back our B. And now we have two pieces of B. Okay, next we need C. Whoa! I threw my pattern piece down. Alrighty, piece C. And again, C is one just like A, where I have a second version for the interfacing. So C goes up here. Then F, they're showing down below. Actually, this is a piece from the bottom over here. F could go there. And you're asking, why did you bother to do that? Why didn't you just do the one down here where it says? This is going to be a lot of fabric left over that I can use somewhere else. On a quilt, you know, somewhere. Another wallet, whatever. There's lots of fabric left there. Okay, so labeled and clipped. Now I need D. And this is why you need a ½ yard of fabric. Because this needs to be the full length. And there's going to be 2 of these, so I'm actually going to do something a little bit different than the pattern layout says. I'm going to go ahead and cut C right here. Okay, we have C. And now we need 2 of the D's. I am going to fold my fabric in half. Make sure the selvage, which is the spot area with the holes, is not included in this. And I'm matching up my grain. And now I'm going to take D. Actually, I don't need it that far over. I can save even more fabric. Let's see, is that wide enough? Even a little bit more. All right. So line it all up. And we cut. So That's a nice chunk of fabric that we can use later on, as is this. I do not save much the little pieces, but anything this size is pretty good size. This is too small. This is going in the garbage. But that's decent size. Can be used for something. There we go. All right, pattern piece D. And we have two versions of it. Now we have D. I'm going to fold that up just a bit so it's not totally taking up the entire table. All right. So we have now completed all of fabric 1. Fabric 2. Fabric 2. Let's see. So we only need, I'm going to get some stuff out of the way. Canvas is a little heavy. It does call for lightweight canvas, and this is heavy canvas, so I'm not certain how it's going to sew, but we'll find out. All right, I need A2, C, and 2 E's. A2 is here. And I did punch a hole in the middle of this so that later on I can mark where the magnet's going to go. This is the one for the interfacing, so we set that aside. We need a single A2. And it's supposed to go, let's see, there's the selvage. It's supposed to go this way. These little pins are not handling the canvas very well. All right. And the canvas does not have a right side or a wrong side, so it doesn't matter which way I cut it. If you have a fabric that has a print on it, you'll want to be cautious and make sure you cut it the correct way. Okay. And our A2 guide. The next thing we need is a C. Okay. Let's turn this way so we can get it open a little bit. Get it out of the way. And C is supposed to go against the salvage that way. Do I have more on that side? I do not, so this will be fine. And here is my salvage on the canvas. It doesn't have dots in it, but it's a slightly different color. So you want to make sure you avoid the salvage. Come on. There we go. All right, straight down. Okay. And I need to find my C piece in here. There's D. There's C. Okay. And the last thing out of here is 2 E's. So since I need 2, I'm going to fold it in half. Again, if you are using a directional fabric, this process that I'm using may or may not work for you, because you'll need to make sure your fabric is going in the right direction. All right, how wide is E? And E is supposed to go, it's kind of that way. I'm going to get some bigger pins. Because there's no way those little ones are going to get through 2 layers of canvas. All right. Oh! You just lost everything. All right, there we go. Gotta watch where my toes go. Come on. There we go. Also, if you are using leather or cork. You can't use pins. So I happen to be using canvas, I'm okay. But if you decide you want to make this out of leather or cork, no pins allowed. And I actually have some leather that I'm probably going to use to make some at least one of these. I still have quite a bit of canvas left to make something else. All right, pattern piece E, and I did something wrong. All right, let's see here. So I still have this tag left, and it's a C. And I'm like, wait a minute, I already cut C. But then I realize it says exterior panel. So obviously, panel exterior. So C, interior, is the cotton fabric. C, exterior, is the canvas. Okay. So now we have our fabric cut. Next we need to get our, I need to get water. Hold on. Water, water, water. There you are. Water. All right, next we need to get our interfacing cut. Interfacing. And it shows where we cut our interfacing, and it shows this side is with the interfacing with a fusible side up, and this shows the fusible interfacing folded over, and so we can cut more than one at a time. So in our flap, sorry, I'm trying to figure out which interfacing to use. Wasn't a pause in the video, it was just me being silly. All right. This is lightweight, standard woven interfacing. It's got dots on one side that I can feel. That's the wrong side. So I am going to go wrong side up. I am going to get my A pieces. They're here somewhere. Here's A2, A2. My A1s. Let's see if I can angle this better because it fell and it's not wanting to stay. gadget. No, that didn't work. No, that's not going to work at all. I know what I can do. Second day in a row, I have spilled pins. Oops. I know, all these problems. But again, live. Well, I guess this isn't technically an issue with sewing. So you wouldn't be having this problem. Ha! Not exactly what I wanted, but ooh, come on. I am obviously going to be replacing this tripod because it does not want to do what I want it to do. All right, let's clean up these pins. At least they didn't all fall on the floor today. The other day when they fell, I dropped them all over the floor. All right, so back to what we were doing. Wrong side up. Flap A. And actually, that is square. So I am going to match it up to the corners. So I only have to cut 2 sides of the pattern. That saves time that I just wasted messing with the camera tripod. All right, so match this up. This is also A1. And now A2. I'm going to hide down here. Well, this isn't as straight. All right, can I sneak the other A2 in between? Nope, doesn't look like it. Nope. Get it close though. There we go. Okay. I don't have room over here, I don't think, for the other pieces. Actually, B needs to be on a 2-sided. I can fit B in here. Get 2 of the bees. All right, and the smaller E. I don't need a big E. No, that's not going to work. All right, so that's all I'm going to get out of this piece. And if you're wondering why I'm not doing the D's, because I could get the D's out of here, I'm going to use the decor bond for the D piece. Yeah. Okay. And we need our B. So we have all of our B's. A2. All right, A1. And so we still need C and E, 2 C's and an E. All right. Do I have any more loose? I do not. All right. So here comes the bolt. So I need the little E, the big C, and the little c. And I need to know why there's a big truck. Ah, parked the wrong way. Okay. FedEx truck is sitting at my next door neighbor's house, and they've been there a long time, making a lot of noise. Not blaming the neighbors, of course, just the FedEx truck. There we go. Voila. Okay, let's get this out of the way. remember we have two C's, one exterior and one interior. And E. All right, last thing to cut is our D, card pocket interfacing. Cut 8 woven interfacing strips. Because of the fact that there is no direction to this, I can cut it any way my little heart desires. This ruler is going to be too short. I'm going to need my longer ruler. Make sure we're at least, yeah, we're plenty of width. There we go. All right. So let's square up this edge. So this is very ragged from where I've cut it in the past. There we go. And it needs to be, I do need that other ruler, 7.5 inches wide. So I'm using two rulers here, taking this one and measuring 7.5 inches width. I'm using this ruler, the longer one, and I need to move everything over so you can see what I'm doing. So 7.5 inches on the straight edge that I just cut, and square it up to the bottom straight edge. So everything's square. Alrighty. That may come in handy for some other part later. Now, let's get rid of the big ruler again, because we don't need it. I am going to make sure that this edge is square. And they need to be 1 inch wide. One. Two. Three. 4. 5. Six. 7. And 8. All right. Goes over there. You come back out. Perfect. Interfacing goes away. Rotary cutter. Ruler. And we attach all of our interfacing pieces to our letter D. Alrighty. Oh, did I need to cut? I don't need to cut that yet. So, pattern layout. All the pattern pieces we're going to set aside, but not too far, because we are going to need a bunch of these pieces in a little bit. In fact, we're going to need one of them almost immediately. So, off to the side we go. That took us about an hour. So that's where you're going to be looking at, about an hour time frame. Let's get that going so that we can warm up. So the next thing we need to do is attach our interfacing to our pieces. Not all of them, but some of them. So D, we're not going to worry about. That's the actual first piece we're going to do. Step number 1 is D. We're going to set that one off to the side for right now. Let's see here. The zipper tab doesn't have any interfacing. Interior panel C, that's got interfacing. We're going to need to do that. Flap exterior, A1. Flap interior, A2. Flap lining, B. Exterior panel. And our slip pockets. Actually, it does not say slip pockets, does it? No, it does not. Oh, yes, it does. There they are, all the way down there. So a piece of information that I didn't give you yet is, since I'm using canvas, I don't really need the interfacing. If you're using leather, cork, something like that, you're not going to be using interfacing, especially because you can't iron them. So you're not going to be using the interfacing. I went ahead and used and cut it out. I want to see if it makes much of a difference. I don't think it will. But I have plenty of interfacing and I don't think it's all that terribly expensive, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. All right, so the first thing we need to do is, I'm starting with A1. I'm going to do them in letter order. We're going to take our fabric and place it right side down on our pressing table. Then we are going to take our large piece of interfacing and place it on top. And we are going to press. Something that I've seen people do, I've seen videos on this, is some people will interface a whole, like we used a ½ yard of fabric, and all but 2 of those pieces, so the D, have interfacing on them. So there are people that will take the interfacing and attach it to the back of the fabric first and then cut out their pieces. Don't see that there's anything wrong with that, just not certain it's necessary. Okay, now the smaller piece of A1 is going to butt up against the curved edge, leaving an even amount of distance on either side. And I'll show you in the close-up view what I'm talking about. I can't remember, but I think this interfacing calls for like 10 seconds of pressing time. And I always like to press from the top of the fabric after I get done, just to make me happy. All right, so here we go. You can barely see. This is one layer of interfacing. And then there's the notch, or the second layer. That way, the seam allowance only has one layer of interfacing in it instead of two. This is where our zipper is going to go, so we need extra strength up there. That's why the interfacing goes all the way to the top. All right, so we take it, we put our tag for A1 back on it so we don't get them mixed up with anything, and off to the side it goes. So A2 is canvas. So it's not very loose as it is. It's pretty stiff. Now we're going to put interfacing on it and see if that makes any difference whatsoever. All right. So I have interfacing attached to my feet. Put the piece over there. All right, so yeah, it's a little stiffer, but not much. Okay, let's put the second piece on. Oh, and you don't want to push your iron around when you're doing interfacing. You want to pick it up and move it. That way you don't shift the interfacing. Now, on this side it doesn't matter. I'm just pressing it to make sure all is flat and happy and adhered. Okay, so again, yeah, I guess it is a little bit stiffer. Not a ton, but a little bit. So, makes a little bit of a difference. All right. Now, B. This is the lining of the pocket. So it is only getting one layer of interfacing. It's not on the outside of any part of the wallet. It's the pocket. So you kind of like your pockets to be a little loose. I've actually never seen interfacing put on a pocket before. or on a pocket lining before. But hey, we'll see. I also don't make wallets very often. I typically make bags, so all right, I need to pick up this interfacing and move it out of my way. I have a scrap interfacing bucket sitting over here, and I didn't make it into the bucket when I threw that interfacing over here before. So it was sticking out and being annoying. Getting caught on my toes. Alrighty. There we go. And we have B done. C, exterior panel. Again, we go back to, does the canvas need it? Probably not, but why not? Again, not sliding, lifting, moving, just not doing it as obvious. This side I can slide on. A little bit of wrinkle in the canvas that I want to try and get out. Didn't seem too bad when I cut it, but now that I'm pressing, it seems a little bit worse. Okay, now this piece is going to have the same amount of area around it. So on the ones with the rounded edges, we matched it up on the rounded top, but on the other three sides it had an even space around it. Same thing we're going to do here. If you feel the need to measure it, feel free. I never do, and I always end up with some of it in my seams at the end. This is not the only pattern that does this. There are other patterns that trim the interfacing to keep that out of the seam allowance, and I always end up with the seam allowance one way or the other. Okay, is that wrinkle out? Yeah, for all intents and purposes. All right, so now we attach our label C, so we know which piece of the puzzle this is going to be, and it goes over out of the way. Now we have C, interior panel. And this fabric has a right and a wrong side, so place it right side down, wrong side up, and attach the interfacing to the wrong side of the fabric. Okay. And again, just like with the last C piece, our fabric, or our second piece of interfacing goes inside, and try and get even amount of seam allowance Okay. Label, so we know which piece it is. And E. I'm going to iron these, literally iron them, because they have quite a bit of wrinkle in them before I apply the interfacing. Let me see. I think, nope, it is not water-resistant canvas. I thought it was. I was wrong. That actually helps. All right, and there is only one piece of interfacing on this, and so it is smaller than the piece of fabric. So you want to center it and press. Oh, and if you're wondering how I knew it wasn't water resistant, when I sprayed the water on it, it soaked into the fabric. If you have water resistant canvas, the water will actually bead up on the top of the fabric. It still works to get the wrinkles out a little bit. It's just not as quick as non-water resistant. And, you know, I never want to say waterproof because anything eventually probably can get water to go through it. I don't know for certain. I don't know what the official, I am not a scientist. I do not know what the official rules are to call something waterproof, water resistant, whatever. So to avoid any problems or confusions, I just say water resistant. Silly machine, don't do that. There we go. Yep, everybody's still there. Okay. Let's put you on here. And E is not square. It is a rectangle. It's a very small rectangle. I can't remember what the actual dimensions were on it, but it is still a rectangle. So make sure when you put your interfacing on, you're putting the interfacing on the correct way. All right. Beautiful. F goes over there because D we're going to need first. And what are we looking at time? So interfacing attachment took about 20 minutes, which isn't bad. I printed these off incorrectly. They're supposed to be double-sided with the flip on the short side, and I did it on the long side, so I'm constantly, which would work if I was using a 3-ring binder, which maybe I could get one of those to set up. Now it's block, you guys. It's bad enough that I've got cameras in the way and other things. There's nothing, I don't want to mess anything else up. But anyway, okay, so step number 4. We've already done the first 3. Step number 4 is the card pocket. And what is probably going to happen here is we're going to get one of these card pockets done today, and we're going to do the second card pocket in part 2. So I need the pattern. for this because it has all sorts of lines on it. Let's go here. So center notch. This is a line we're going to mark eventually, just not right now. Fold line, placement line. Fold line, placement line. Fold line, placement line, fold line. Okay. I'm going to take my pieces of interfacing that go with D and set them off to the side for now. Oh, and I need to get rid of one of the pieces of D. There are two of these, so I'm going to get rid of the first one and set it aside with our interfacing and our marker. So those are out of the way. So we just have this one piece of fabric. And in her video, she had us mark the fold lines with a pen, and then fold it in half and clip them. I think that's an extra step that is unnecessary. The first thing we need to do is we need to get this center notch put in. So let's fold it in half. And now we're going to put the center notch in. To do that, you take your scissors and cut off about 1/8 of an inch. Small little clip. Nothing all that complicated. So we've done that. Now, just take your pattern. Your fabric's already folded. And clip. Now, again, 1/8 of an inch. Not very far. You don't want to get carried away on this. If you go too far, it's going to mess up your seams later on. All right. So here we go. We have our fabric with our center notch up at the top, so we know exactly where the center is and which side is the top. And then you cannot see the clips, but they are there along the side of the fabric. Okay, back out here we go. So now where the clips are, we are going to put in a fold. So wrong side up, first clip on both sides, and press in the fold. Then you take it, you go to the next set of clips. And you press in the fold. There's a total of 4 of these. So now this is the third one. And last but not least, our fourth one. Again, make sure your clips are at the top of the fold. I may be wrong. We may get the other one of these done too. All right, let's do that. Let's do the second one while we're at it. We're going to have plenty of time. I don't know why I thought we were running so much later than we were today. All right. Fold in half. Little itty bitty clip. And be careful when you do this, the fold line is the dotted line, and the placement line is the solid line. So be careful you don't clip where the placement line is. You clip where the, did I get both lines? Yeah, I did. You clip where the fold line is. And the bottom fold line does not have a placement line because it's going up. All right, so I'm going to set that pattern piece aside. Get these folds pressed in. Okay. And last but not least, there we go. All right. This is what we look like. We have our clip on the top. We've got our pressed folds all the way down. And what we need to do now is put our interfacing in. Like I said, I'm using Decor Bond. I'm using really heavy interfacing because I like my card slots to be stiff. It makes me happy. So we put this Decor Bond on our strip. Is it on the bottom? Yes. And then we're going to fold this over and press and press here so that it sticks to, I've got the side that attaches to the bottom. Okay, so sticky side down. This is the bottom. This is where my top notch is. So I fold it down, I press it, put the pressed side down, or put the sticky side down, the side that's going to adhere. Fold it back over on the fold and press. Now be careful not to move your iron too high because you're going to need all those other pressed lines you made along the way. Okay, So you can open it. It's not fully attached as I want it to be. My iron must have cooled down while we were over there chatting. There we go. All right. So now the next piece, adhesive side down, centered as best you can. It's not coming, the world won't come to an end, but it's basically it's got enough room for the seam allowance later on. So that's why you want to try and center it. Press, move the fold over and press. Okay, let's make sure that adhered. It's a little off again. Okay, next one. And if it worries you, you can draw a line down either side, and that way you can match up the edges and you can get your interfacing exactly centered. All of these things can, I may not be doing them, but you can if you want to ensure that you get a straight, everything straight as you want it, as straight as you want it. So I was just trying to ensure that I wasn't imagining things. It does say to do something while we're doing this. We're going to be top stitching all of these folds. And if I didn't have cameras, I would have really an O-shaped, but most people call it a U-shaped desk. Sewing machine here, cutting board to the left, pressing station to the right, and so all you have to do is you turn your chair, cut, turn your chair, press, turn your chair, sew. You never have to get out of your chair. That does not work for me because of the fact that I am putting on a show for y'all. So I have to have cameras and things situated differently. In my perfect world, instead of to the left having my cutting table, I would have it behind me on a table on casters that moved. So I would actually be completely surrounded, but the cutting board in the back would move so that I could get in and out of the area. Again, that would be my perfect world, because I like to make small things. I don't make big things. I have some things that are bigger, but most of the time I like to make small table runners, bags, in this case a wallet, I'm just not a fan of huge quilts. I've made them. I have them all over my house. I just don't want to do that anymore. I want to make small things. And so a setup like that, I wouldn't need all that much. Big enough for a cutting board that size, so a healing mat, a pressing station, sewing machine. Now you do need room off to the left all the time when you're sewing, no matter what you're sewing, because at some point in time you've got to move things off to the side. Having said that, this wallet isn't really going to need that much, but it is going to need some room off to the left. All right. We are getting there. What are we doing on time? We're doing well on time. That being said, I think I've scheduled 3 parts for this wallet. I can't remember off the top of my head if I scheduled all 3 or if I just had planned on scheduling all 3. Which I'm sure it's going to take the 3. I don't think it'll take 4 parts. I think we'll be able to get through this in 3 parts. Like I said, she has 5 videos that total just under 30 minutes. With all of the directions and so on and so forth throughout. All right. So we have little strips of interfacing on the back at all of the folds. So let's go over to the sewing machine. See what we've got going on over there. So she recommended a walking foot, and I am going to honor that request. So I have my walking foot on. Now my walking foot only goes straight, which is fine. And it has a 1/4 inch foot attached to it. So if I measure from my needle out to the exterior of this first foot, that's a 1/4 inch. I need to do 1/8 inch, which is the inside of the foot on my machine, or on my walking foot. If I go all the way out to here, that's 1 inch. And in here, or no, it's a 1/2 inch. Duh. That's a 1/4 inch, that's a 1/2 inch. So the exterior of my foot is a 1/2 inch. There's a big foot, that's a 1/4 inch, and inside the little foot, that's 1/8 inch. So 1/8 inch, I'm going to increase my stitch length to 3.5. So when I made my 10 pocket bag, I used purple polyester thread, and it used almost the entire spool just to finish that bag. I don't think I'm going to use this at all on the wallet, but I might at some points for top stitching, so that's why it's sitting here, in case I decide I want the top stitch to be purple. It's a light purple, it's a lavender, not a dark purple. But I am going to do the bright white here as my top stitch. So again, stitch length increased because I'm top stitching, and 1/8 inch from the fold. Oh, and I've got a universal 90 needle on here. because I've got the canvas later on and I just don't feel like switching back and forth with needles. At this point, I could be using an 80 and it would be fine because all I'm doing is sewing through cotton. But again, I don't feel like switching back and forth needles throughout the project. So we've done a nice top stitch straight across. And I don't think the white sticks out too badly. I was afraid that the white would be too bright, but it's actually not too bad. All of our top stitching's done. So now if your machine has any issues with its bottom thread, you want to be very cautious while you do this to ensure that the top thread is going to be the part that's going to be visible from the exterior. My machine doesn't have that problem, so I didn't care one way or the other which way I did the sewing. But if your machine has any issues with bobbin thread, or if your bobbin thread is a different color for some reason or whatever, you need to be cautious of that. Okay, so that was step 7. Nope, that was step 6. So now step 7, beginning from the bottom on the right side, bring fold line 1 to meet placement line 1. Placement line 1 is 3/8 of an inch down from the fold. It says that on the pattern. So I am not going to mess with any more clicks or whatever, any more little clips on the fabric, I am going to use my little itty bitty ruler, which has 1/8 inch marks on it. I'm going to take my friend over here, and I am going to put this 3/8 of an inch down. 1, 2, 3/8 of an inch down. I'm going to bring my bottom fold up to meet the bottom of my ruler. And then I am going to press. Shift everything. Put the ruler at 3/8 of an inch. Take the second pocket, fold it up, square it up, and press. And last but not least, I have a thread hanging out. Let's get that thread out of the way. There we go. Pull it up to the fold and press. Now on this last one, I'm going to press well, and I think, if I remember correctly, yes. Oh, no. You hang out there for a minute. Sorry. Fold evenly spaced, so there's approximately 3/8 between each one. Yes. Press top stitch the top edge of the slip pocket using a longer stitch. I seem to remember on hers, she folded this top part over. But now that I'm looking at it, I don't think you do. So, I'm going to set this off to the side and do this piece first. Then we'll look at the pattern. See what I was reading wrong. All right, 1, 2, 3. Oh, this is as far as we're going to get. All right, 1, 2, 3. There we go. You sit there for a minute. Let me bring you in. So here we go. Looks like card pockets, doesn't it? Now we're obviously going to sew a seam up the middle to separate it so that you have 2 cards on either side. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Plus you've got the other side. So that's a total of 12 card slots, which is really cool. All right, let's get that pressed. And I have 2 of these now that are identical. And we have completed step number 7. So on part 2, not tomorrow, no, not tomorrow. But in part 2, we're going to move on to step number 8, which is where we start attaching these card slots to the pockets. and getting them all ready to be put together. So don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, thumbs up, remind, all of that good stuff, so that you know when we're on next. And I appreciate you watching. We'll see y'all next time. I'm Carol Crafty Grandma.